Figure it out.
Hello, this is Adam Koralik with Figure It Out Productions. The following video is part of our Quick Shoot series. Hey guys, it's Adam here. Before I get into my little intro, if you don't care about any of that and you just want to see the cleanup process of a 32X, skip to this time code and check that out. If not, stick around. So anyway, I got this package recently from a person that we will refer to as this, not this is this, which is a little confusing. But he sent this to me absolutely for free, which was really cool of him, and he obviously did not have to do that, but he did it anyway. So why don't I just go ahead and open it up and we'll talk about the contents within. So I'm just going to cut it right there and open it across. And inside, well, first we have a note, so let's go ahead and look at the note. The note says, alright, let's take a look here. Hey Adam, I hope you enjoy both the 32X and the Sega Game Gear. Both are worthless where I'm at, mainly due to the fact that they're both bombs. You've seen the Angry Video Game Nerds video on the 32X, but the Sega Game Gear was also a train wreck, and pretty hard to sell the thing off. And that's why I'm giving them both to you. Both need cleaning, and as you can tell. And I have no idea if the 32X will even work, but the Game Gear hasn't been used in a long time and loves to suck up batteries. And I hasn't tuned it on for years. I assume he means I hadn't turned it on for years. Maybe you'll have some luck. Sincerely, This. Thank you, This, for that oddly angry note. Well, I mean, that happens. You watch the Angry Video Game Nerd. But yeah, no, he sent me a well, let's just open it up here. You can see he sent me a 32X and a Sega Game Gear. Now, as he mentioned, they're both dirty. I think you can see that like immediately. Just look at that. It's very dirty, very, very dirty. And so is the 32X. But that doesn't matter. We're going to clean them up. Well, okay, in fairness, we're going to focus on the 32X because like he said, I don't know if the Game Gear works or not. I'm betting it doesn't, and it probably needs new capacitors, which was a huge problem in the 90s when they were making these things. Capacitors get blown out, and the soundboard and the sound features and the video features stop working. It's replaceable if you have soldering skills and the parts to do it, neither of which I have. So I will basically just do a surface cleaning. I might clean up the contacts in there and hope it works, but don't count on me doing a full restoration of this. But the 32X, I will try my best. Now this is of course just the core of the 32X, as you can see. It doesn't have any cables or anything like that, which is fine because I have all of those. Wow, spider webs, that's impressive. Now he told me what the story with these is that this used to be his Game Gear, and then he got it back and decided he didn't want it, so he gave it to me. And 32X, I guess some roommates had this, and then they left it behind when they moved out, and he had no need for it, so he hooked me up with it. So there you go. Now, on to the cleaning. So if you're going to get into the 32X, like all Sega systems, it uses a Phillips head screwdriver. It's got 4 ports, 1, 2, 3, 4, so you can just go ahead and open those up. Okay, so once you have your 4 screws out, you can take this top part off, just like that. And inside you can see the lovely 32X guts. And on top you'll of course have the lid. Now underneath that you'll see that there's 3 screw points, and that's of course to take the cartridge bay out. So go ahead and unscrew those. Okay, so once you have your screws out, which I have right there, and keep in mind to isolate and separate your screws so that you know where they go. Once you have that done, you can take this out just like that. Now these are both just pieces of plastic, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them over to the sink, and I'm going to rinse them with water and soap and scrub them. Alright, now I've rinsed these up, and you can see they're a lot better. There's a lot of dust and dirt that's gone. But they still have little funky marks on them, like right there and right there. So to get those out, what I typically use is Mr. Clean's Magic Eraser. This is like a really fine bleaching sandpaper, basically. And it's better to do this while it's still wet. I have only come to learn that recently. And you basically take it and just rub it along, like whatever the little mark is, and takes the mark right out, which is really nice. But of course you have to be careful with this stuff because, like I said, it's basically a fine sandpaper. So if you do it over something like, say, that logo, the logo is going to get torn right off. So you can't do that. But as you can see, it works really well on little marks like that. So if you have any on the top lid here, go ahead and do that. And you might want to wait until later to do it on the bottom part of the 32X until, of course, it's completely disassembled. Okay, I went ahead and rinsed this again because obviously it had like white dust from the Mr. Clean's Magic Eraser. So now I'm just going to put it off to the side and let it dry, because if you don't want to reassemble these things with any moisture in them, especially on these sides where water can collect inside these holes and stuff. So basically just put it off to the side and ignore it for a while. Now bring in the actual 32X. Now please understand, I've never actually opened a 32X before, so this is I'm jumping in first, just like you guys. So basically, I'm going to assume that you have to remove all the screws on the outside here first. Okay, so once you have all those screws out, you basically just pop this off. It's just an RF shield, so my original assessment is right. So don't judge me too harshly. I just because this is my first time doesn't mean I can't figure it out. But anyway, yeah, this is just an RF shield. I actually advise rinsing this up with soap and water like you did with the case, and then of course letting it dry. But then you get down to this. Now the board here has there's two screws right there that are just kind of exposed, and then there's two like here. You can see one right there by this finger, and then there's one that's kind of like hidden underneath this thing, so you kind of have to lift up a little bit to get to it. And then you have two by the controller, or by the cartridge port. If this thing is like any other, most cartridge consoles that have screws that hold the cartridge board into place, I'm just guessing that those are probably longer, so keep that in mind. You'll probably have to turn them a little bit longer just to get them out. So you can see the nice wet and shiny RF shield now, nice and clean. I'm gonna put this off to the side and back over to our 32X. Now I've taken all the screws out, and as you can see, I was right. There's two longer screws. That always happens, and yeah, it's by the cartridge port. So what we're gonna do now is just lift out the motherboard here, which might take a little bit of finagling. I suggest pushing up on the cartridge slot down there and taking this out and getting down to this, and ew, not very attractive. Let's take this out, this piece of plastic, and this other RF shield piece, and the bottom piece of plastic. Okay, I went ahead and rinsed it all up, and as you can see, it looks a lot better. If you have any like white discolorations or scars or whatever on these things, now would be the time to use Mr. Clean's Magic Eraser on it and get those out. Luckily though, this one does not have any. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that off to the side, all these pieces, and let them dry. Now we'll bring in the board. I would really like to get this black cartridge piece off and clean it, because as you can see, it is disgusting. But that looks more complicated than it's worth, so I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to do like a surface cleaning and just get dust and dirt and grime out of there and stuff. So this is a 32X, by the way, just the core of it. Interestingly, I don't know how well the camera's going to pick this up. If you read there, it says Mars. If you ever wondered why the Sega Saturn was named the Sega Saturn, they had a bunch of prototypes, and they just went in the order of the planets after Earth, and this was Mars. There you go. Neptune was, of course, also a 32X Genesis all-in-one prototype, and I think Jupiter at some point was the name of something. I know Jupiter was a thing, I just don't remember what it was for Sega. But anyway, it did exist. But there you go. This is technically the Sega Mars before they renamed it the Sega 32X. Anyway, back to the cleaning. So for this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a paper towel and some Windex. I mean paper towel, not toilet paper, because paper towel doesn't really leave any like little paper fibers. And just kind of spray it. And then I'm just going to go ahead and clean it like this, and just get as much of the dust and grime off the back of this thing as I can, off the plastic part. And of course, do your best to avoid getting moisture with the board. With these metal parts, it's kind of unavoidable, and I hope that that doesn't cause a problem, but I'll let it dry before I reinsert it into the system. So anyway, clean back around the front like that, and well, already you can tell that that's a big difference. And with the board, though, of course, we're not going to do that. We're going to we'll do a few things. The first thing we'll do is we'll take the cartridge port here, and we're going to use what is called a Cartridge Cleaning Kit. Now, these are not common anymore, so what you're going to want to do for the most part is do what's called the credit card method, where you take like a credit card or any kind of like plastic card, and you wrap it in felt cloth. And then, once you're at that point, you take it like this, and again, spray some Windex on it, and just get a little bit on there, spread it around like that, and put it inside the cartridge port here. Go up and down a few times, which is surprisingly difficult to do on the 32X because of the nature of the design of this thing. And once you've done that, you take it out, you can rub your finger on this thing, and you know, you'll notice, I don't know how the camera's going to pick that up, but there's a lot of dust and dirt on there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that a few times and just get the cartridge port all cleaned up. Okay, so after you've done that a few times, what you're going to want to do is take some compressed air and spray it in there, just like that, and get out as much moisture as possible. Now, when it comes to the actual board, there's not much we can do, but there's a couple things. Again, while you have your compressed air here, it's good to just kind of blow some on the board and just get off any loose dust. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I didn't see any, so I don't think there's much. It'd also be a good idea to do it in the ports here. There was some that came out of that one. No, not out of that one. That I saw anyway. But yeah, that'll be a good way to get some dust out of there. And I actually, you know, this is like a Genesis port, obviously, or Genesis cartridge, obviously, but if you look closely, there's actually holes back there, and so that it can ventilate up. So, or at least I assume that's its function. So we're going to take advantage of that and use compressed air in those holes, and hopefully shoot some dust up and out. But I didn't see anything, so I don't know if anything happened. But that's not the only thing we can do. We're also going to take a dry Q-tip and just do like a little, you know, surface kind of cleaning. Just kind of rub along and just see what, if any, dust or dirt it picks up, depending on, of course, the condition of the 32X that you've picked up and are restoring here. Maybe just a little dry run across there. Get some dust. There's a little bit on there. Okay, so you've been doing that for a little bit, and now you're satisfied. There's only one more step here. For cleaning anyway. What we're going to do is we're going to take, again, compressed air and just kind of blow it on there to get any little possible cotton fibers that might have been left on the board. And yeah, there you go. In theory, that's all set. Okay, I've waited and all the plastic is dry, so now it's time to put this thing back together. Now we're going to move the board out of the way here and grab the bottom piece. Then we have to go ahead and grab our RF shield as well as this little black piece. And then you just kind of slide it back on. It's really simple. There's only one way it can go in, and of course it'll fit because these little plastic pieces will pop over and hold it in place. Then you take this part, and as you can see, this has two different directions. One is more of a hole, like that, sorry, and the other one is, you can see more plastic there. So you put it down this way, and then you can tell it's the right way because it's kind of locked into place. And then we take our board, and we just fit it through the cartridge slot, and there you go. It's back in place, and those little plastic pieces, again, will pop up through the board. And now we take, hopefully you isolated them, 6 screws here, 4 normal ones plus these 2 longer ones. And the 2 long ones, again, they go in the cartridge slots right there on the side. And then the other 4, one goes there in that hole, one goes there, and one goes there. And then the other one goes in here, like behind this thing. It's right there, you can see it. Okay, I've got those screws back into place. As you can see, it's holding together quite nicely. So now it's time to put on the other part of the RF shield, which just fits on very simply, just like that. Goes on very easily. And again, I hope you've isolated your screws, and that would be all of them right there. And they just go into the various points. Okay, I've got all the screws back in there, and as you can see, hold together very nicely. And so now it's time to deal with the top part. Now, of course, this is the top, and we have the cartridge bay. So we're going to put this in first. And remember, you just flip it back over. It really can only fit in one way. And then you'll have those 3 other remaining little screws, and put 2 there and 1 there. Alright, got this piece back in, and yeah, you can see, holds together quite well. Now we're going to go ahead and put the final piece back together. Bam, 32X. And of course that has the 4 screws that you have to put in at the bottom there. It's mooning you! Okay, so I have the console back together here, and as you can see already, it's looking a hell of a lot better. But we're not done. You guys probably noticed I didn't clean this cartridge port. Now that was done intentionally. You probably yelled at your computer or your phone, and I'm sorry, I feel bad for your computer or phone. I didn't mean to have you yell at them. But yeah, we're going to clean that now. And we would, like we would with pretty much any cartridge, we're going to just clean it by using you know, a Q-tip and some Windex. Just go ahead and spray some of that right on there. And then get in there and clean the contacts on the system. Now, this system in particular is incredibly filthy, so I'm going to have to do a few runs of this. But you can see I'm just basically what I'm doing is I'm just rubbing it back and forth. And ugh. Now, I'm going to clean this whole thing like a few times. And then, of course, you're going to want to take the other end and dry it and everything. And then let it sit for a bit. Now, I noticed that a lot of cotton fibers were getting stuck on this board in particular. That usually doesn't happen with cartridges as much, so you kind of have to pick them out a little bit. It's a little tedious, but it does work. And then you have a pretty clean cartridge port thing. Yeah. So anyway, now that I've done that, yeah, the console looks substantially better. It's not perfect, but we can actually improve it. We can bring out a nice kind of shine to it. You know, to kind of bring out what it looked like more so in '95 when it was originally released, or '94, I think it was '95. But anyway, for that what we do is we take some Pledge. This is Orange Clean. Pledge is basically, I don't know, it's to clean stuff. But what you want to do is get something like this. Non-moisturizing is typically best. This is not moisturizing, that's what I mean to say. Don't get moisturizing. And what you're going to do at that point is take some and just spray it on a paper towel. Like that, and then you just kind of rub it on the console there, and you get this white goo all over it, and just rub it around all over the plastic, on the front and the back and the sides. Just get it, you know, kind of everywhere. Try not to obviously put it on, like, you know, in the ports there or in the contacts of the system or anything, but, you know, just the plastic. Alright, I've let it dry, and well, I think it cleaned up incredibly well. It looks really good, especially considering what it looked like at the beginning. Now, as per usual, I have no idea if it works. I don't test these things in advance. I just find out, you know, kind of on the fly, because that's the whole point of cleaning it up, to see if it'll work. Now, so this is slightly different than usual, because obviously, as you guys saw at the beginning of the video, there was a Game Gear in here too, which you haven't seen me clean up. But I did go ahead and do what I said I would do, which was clean the outside of it, clean the contacts, and I also, just for good measure, I put Pledge on it as well. And this is what it looks like now. And I think it also looks really, really good. Again, no idea if it's going to work. I'm not optimistic about it, but the 32X I am optimistic about. So let's go ahead and find out the results, shall we? For any conspiracy theorists, this is my old 32X. As you can see, the ports are not all rusty and shitty. And you can see there, this is the one, as if it focuses, that does have the crapped over ports. So anyway, plugged it all in, and it wasn't working. And I was like, well, crap. And so I decided to go back and clean the contacts again. And I used one of these. This is like just a Genesis contact cleaner. Basically, you put like Windex in here with Q-tips, and then you just go in and out like a million times, and I can't tell you how much gunk and dirt and shit just came off. It was ridiculous. And but what that means is good news. It works now, and I know that because I've already tested it. Because thank you for going out of focus. Anyway, there you go. You can see it is running, and that is awesome. And that's really, really great. But of course, where's the mystery in that? You know, I mean, I told you that it worked because I had to test it because I was having problems, so I had to use this. However, I can surprise you with this. Now, of course, that's the Game Gear. Haven't tested this yet, so we can find that out together. I've got the power cord here. Go ahead and plug that in as best I can with one hand. Oh man, putting a cartridge in there is going to be very difficult. Alright, but the game I've got is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Yeah, I know. I loved that show. I think we all did. Hopefully you did. So here we go, guys. Is this going to work? I don't know. I can not reach the... There we go. Well, it powers up. That's good. Though I'm not getting any kind of... Ooh, that's... The cartridge isn't all the way in. That would do it. Put it in properly. Ooh, that's a good sign. Produced on... Sega! That's, dude, that kicks ass. Now, alright, it looks better. We have sound! And it gets loud. The capacitors aren't dead on the video or on the sound. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, wow, I was not expecting that. Screen's a little funky, well, that's just the Game Gear screen. That's the nature of how it works. It looks better to me than it does through the camera. I'm trying to tilt it so it looks decent. But yeah, there you go. Well, that's really awesome. Thank you to Thisithis for hooking me up with this Game Gear and for this 32X. Again, he did this absolutely for free, so that was really cool of him. And so I hope you got some quick tips on how to clean up a Game Gear, even though that wasn't really expected. And hopefully you learned how to clean and restore a 32X. So thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you all later.